looking now.
Okay. There we go.
Ta-da!
Ta-da. Yeah, just as a, well, first off, I'm Flux Neo.
I'm Tamara Neo, and thank you for tuning in to Neo Mix Live.
So-
And we had a kitten. Okay, so
kitten.
we had a kitten attack our rig. I
Yes.
lost my daughter to Arizona. I got to have a new baby kitten, and the thing is as cute as all get out. But she got into the room this week.
I still don't know
And-
where the cover for one microphone
And
is.
we found the other microphone cover, you know, those spongy looking things, halfway down the hall towards the bathroom.
Down the hall, full of hair. My monitors that we can listen to the show, things that are on the desktop with, have literally claw marks down the entire side of them. And just as a cue, I guess generally anyone that's maybe looked into doing this themselves, it's a bit of an investment. So to see kitty claw marks over your, you know, carefully selected equipment is definitely not the way you want to wake up
Kind of like having
and go
kids.
through the day. But needless to say, I didn't even give much thought to it. I was kind of like, okay, found this, found that. And then I went to start doing setup and I realized, oh, that got unplugged. Thankfully, that wasn't chewed on. And needless to say, it took a little bit. At first, I didn't have sound at all. And then I realized, okay, figured it out. But
All right.
we're back.
We're back. We're
Yes.
back for
And
another
we were,
fun show.
we were off last
We
week.
were off last week, and we have video of where we were. Another
Yeah.
fun adventure, another
Yes.
VMI fun adventure.
Yeah, and we're not
So-
trying to overload with VMI. It's just there's a lot of things
going on
happening right
at the
now
beginning of
that
the year. Yeah.
are new experiences for us, I think, and for anyone who's kind of interested in that kind of experience of, you know, sending a kid off and wanting to kind of get a first-hand take on what that looks like. It's definitely a lot going on, a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Very cool. In the spirit, though, of, you know, schools, oddly, I'm a Buffalo, but I hail from Tucson. So I'm showing a little Arizona pride. I don't think Arizona is one of those schools that a lot of people are offended by, except maybe ASU, but I'm not certain they're human beings. So it's, you know, outside of that, no one should be offended by my pride in Arizona. But regardless, this evening we've got 3 segments. The first one, and I will say this, and I'm not trying to say this to be some sort of apologist or anything. I'm not trying to curry favor whatsoever. My wife's an excellent, excellent cook, and I'm not just saying that to ensure that she keeps feeding me, but really just as a practical observation from years and years and years of watching her do it. Sometimes, though, when you get out of your comfort zone and try something new, things don't always work out right.
And I don't ever post about things that don't work out right until tonight.
Yeah, and I think the reason why this one is so important is because it's actually very kind of practical skills. So
Yeah.
I'll let you go into kind of the framework of what you were hoping to do.
Okay, do you
And
want to
then we
tease
can
the other
actually-
2 segments, or do you want me to just keep going?
No, we'll get to them.
Okay.
But we'll go into Tamara's first segment here, and we've got a little video to accompany it, but I'll let you lay the foundation for
So
it.
I love to cook. Anybody's ever watched my Facebook page or my Instagram, I love to cook, I love to bake, I love to try different things. I have never ever canned. Even when this man canned sauerkraut, I kind of sat back and just sort of watched. So
That's actually a good point. I think that'd be a fun segment.
yeah, for sure. Especially since mine didn't work out so well. So I have had a bumper crop of tomatoes. So thank you very much to Kimberly Santola and her amazing tomato plants, because I had a bumper crop of 4. I don't know if you remember prior session or prior show, we showed the video of it and it was totally out of control. And this is the year I learned that tomato cages are for chumps.
Yeah, waste of time,
Tomato
waste of
cages
effort.
are to look pretty and not to ever actually function for anything once they start growing.
Well, or maybe they're for an area where you don't have...
Where they don't grow?
Yeah, have
So
the
they-
soil that we do.
So they grow here. So my tomato cages are like, 2 feet, 3 feet, somewhere in there. When I finally went out and I got the stakes and I ran some twine and I created little fences for mine, my tomatoes, some of them, if they were going straight up, they'd be 8 feet tall.
Yeah.
I mean, these are huge
Yeah,
plants.
you went lateral with them
Yes.
to try to manage it.
So each year I learned a little bit more. Next year, the stakes I'm putting in will probably be 7-foot spikes. steaks. So at any rate,
I'm putting in,
yeah,
aka
this is true. This is true that I'm not putting in, that you're putting in. But amazing tomatoes this year. I ventured out. She had so many different flavors.
ton of variety.
Oh,
Some I've now
gosh.
fallen in love with some of these. I don't know what their names are. We
know
need
what
to
their names
figure
are,
it
yeah.
out, or maybe take some over and have her tell us.
Yeah.
Tomatoes that are now my favorite that I've never had before in my life until this
Little
season.
football-shaped yellow ones that are just sweet like fruit. Little dark black ones
Yeah,
with.
like, do they call them black
Well,
tops or
I
something?
don't know
like
what they
that?
are. I think they were chocolate something or other. Anyways,
Okay.
absolutely amazing. Another that kind of ends up looking like a muscadine grape. Just wonderful, wonderful tomatoes. So I had lots and lots of tomatoes, more than I could keep up with. So I decided, well, maybe now's the time to start to learn to can. So I got the USDA canning book, the Bible for
This
canning.
is, and for Tamara's purposes, she was using it for consideration around the tomatoes. I use the same book for my sauerkraut that I make. I got into making sauerkraut a couple seasons ago. I actually will do a video on that because I went from no experience to just totally hooked on
Great sauerkraut.
making sauerkraut. If it's not your thing, that's fine. But I will say if you've fermented your own, it may turn you into a fan. But this tells you everything you need about what kind of canning process is best for beans versus tomatoes versus fruits versus meats.
Yeah, meats, spaghetti sauce with meat,
What
spaghetti sauce
elevation?
without meat. When do you do the pressure cooker? When does hot water
When
suffice?
hot water bath. But regardless, it has everything based on your elevation,
And
how
actually,
much time
you
you put on
ordered
it.
that for me. So where did that come off of line, or where did that come from?
Yeah, I got it online, but this is the USDA's edition. This is their 2015 edition. I think this is the most current edition, but regardless, it's important from a health standpoint. You want to follow the guidelines that are reflected in here. But needless to say, this is something for anybody that's interested in canning. You essentially have to have it, in my opinion.
Yeah. So let's just put it this way. It didn't work out so well. So let's go ahead and start the video, and I'll show you a little bit about what happened.
Or didn't happen. Yeah, I
Yeah.
remember a distinct moment where she was like, "Now watch this," and she picks up a jar of store bought and goes, click, dump. Ta-da! Wow. So yeah, I actually tasted it.
You didn't actually taste it though, did you?
Yeah,
tasted
no,
it when
I did
you
taste
did?
it,
Okay.
and it just was interesting. It wasn't really tomato in any vibrant sense. It
No.
almost like stripped the flavor out of it.
And I don't
even after the
I mean,
seasoning.
it wasn't even the canning process that did this. It was just
Yeah.
my cooking process, and I don't
And
have any
it was
idea.
actually almost more like a paste.
Yeah.
Than it was a
and
sauce.
I kept adding water to try and counteract that, but it just didn't work. And
Yeah.
it just kept getting dingier and dingier and dingier.
Yeah, I think dingy is a good word.
Yeah, it is. It's a bad word, but it's a good description.
It's typically not what you want to associate with your meals.
So I can't say that I will never ever do this again, but Lord Almighty, that was a lot to me. That was a lot of tomatoes
And a lot of work and a lot of
and
time.
a lot of work and a lot of dishes. A whole lot of dishes that don't go into the dishwasher that have to be hand washed. So I was like, of that for 2 jars.
Was it even 2 jars?
I think it probably would have been.
I'm not certain that it would have actually ever gotten to the 2 jar mark.
I don't know. But okay, so the first lesson, the baby tomatoes are wonderful. They do not work for canning at all. Trying to get the little seeds out.
Oh, true.
Never,
yeah.
ever again. They have to, if you're going to deal with them, they got to be meaty enough that it's worth the time.
So is it fair to say that big tomatoes and then such that you can carve out the seeds?
Easily.
It still seems like a huge mess.
It is a huge mess.
At least thankfully, this is one thing I will say, and this is kind of a bit of a teaser for show to come, but just in comparison, I know for my sauerkraut, I chop up the cabbage, add my salt, tamp it in, add a little water if I need it, done. And the mess is really nothing more than maybe a bowl where I'm tossing the salt and the cabbage together.
Yeah, there's a little more to it for tomatoes, apparently.
Yeah, but volume wise, I get like 4, 5 big, huge quarts of sauerkraut by the time it's done fermenting. And the beauty of it is I can have that the rest of the season. The tomatoes, it seems like you're just kind of hamstrung. It takes a fair amount of them, a ton of time, questionable.
And I just kept thinking, I could
quality.
just go buy a jar and put a jar on the shelf.
Yeah, literally, if you're somebody that's focused on the future, just go buy 20 jars. Far better use of your time, effort, and I think the frustration goes with it. A lot of things when you try them for the first time, if they're overly frustrating, do you want to go back and even try?
You're just like,
there's nothing
right out of it.
Nothing
but like
in
I said,
it.
I don't give up on everything, just like that.
Sure.
But I'm going to sit and figure out what the heck I did wrong before I ever try again.
Maybe watch a video or something. Because there's got to be folks. You did watch videos.
I always watch a ton of videos before I start anything.
Huh. Okay. Well, that was one of the few errors
You're sweet.
that you've ever made.
That's
But
the only one that I've shown. Let's put it that way.
yeah, this is uncharted territory saying here's how to screw up. But by you learning from her mistakes, hopefully you can be wise.
Hey, there are canners out there, I'm sure, who can tell me, maybe based on the little bit that you saw there, where did I go awry? First of all, I recognize the small tomatoes are a really bad idea. So I got that one, check. What else? Did you see something that I did? I know I couldn't get all the seeds out, but I wouldn't have thought that would have done that. But
Are the seeds like such a deterrent to the thing?
I don't know. Everything I read says get the seeds out.
Get the seeds out.
Get the seeds
Okay.
out. I'm not really sure
don't know.
why. So
Well, from her shortcomings,
to
we
his wonderful success.
yes,
He
my
cooked.
success. I cooked.
It wasn't Mother's Day. It wasn't an anniversary. It wasn't my birthday. He cooked.
Yeah, not the norm for me at all. I'm a huge, big eater. Love it, love food. Borderline pastime of mine to hunt up fun and interesting food. But actually taking the time to prepare it myself, nope. The idea is sitting there hungry, staring at what I want to eat, and just being like, I get to wait how much longer? Oh, another hour and a half. before I can enjoy what I'm staring at typically is unbearable, not even worth it. Taco Bell, here I come, if that's what I'm left to. I don't even think I can eat Taco Bell anymore. I think that's only young person food.
I think so. I think you've been spoiled.
Yeah. But regardless, I took a stab at actually cooking a meal.
You did more than a stab.
Well,
You succeeded.
I think this is the point, and I think the benefit of this segment is literally, I am a dummy when it comes to cooking. No practical skill set, no practical experience, no real exposure. It was just kind of like, well, let me try it, so that at least any other guy that's out there that rarely does this, doesn't have any inclination towards it, doesn't even have an interest in it, which is kind of my position. Can I make something that's edible, first off? And then secondarily, maybe it's even enjoyable, so that on those rare occasions where you feel like you want to do something special, if an idiot like me, when it comes to cooking, can do it, maybe it's worth giving it a shot. So I worked it up. We did a video on this, and at least from what I can tell, I think it was actually a success. I'll give my own commentary afterwards, but I think we need to get to this video just to give you a sense of what we were dealing with here. Let me get this guy to go.
It has a little bit of lag.
Oh, it does?
Just a 1.5 second.
Okay, well, let me go ahead and pull this up and see. So what I have here is beef tenderloin. Whole point of what I'm trying to do is just find some good meat, flavor it, cook it, and make a meal from scratch that, you know, for somebody that doesn't cook, it still shows that you're serious, that you're trying to do something special, unique, interesting. And my whole point is, ideally, this will taste good. So by having a beef tenderloin here, obviously I think you're off to a great start because of the fact that it's going to be good meat. Just so that you have a sense of what I got here, I got just some pepper, I got some pink Himalayan salt, and then I've got a little mixture here of thyme, onion powder, and garlic powder. And what I'm going to end up doing after I pull this out and drain it is use some avocado oil, because it has a high burn temperature, to smother it in so that the various seasonings go ahead and hold to the beef. I'll end up tying this, and then we'll go ahead and get it cooked. But I'm going to try to get some of this fat off of it. And if you're a guy that cooks, probably look at me like I'm nuts here, but I am legitimately a guy who never ever cooks. Don't presume to know anything about how you should be doing meat one way or another. But I think that's the whole point here of doing this, is just ensuring that I'm able to show a guy who's not a regular cook that it's not impossible to make a good meal. So some of the fat we can leave because it ensures that the meat has good flavor to it and it absorbs a lot of the seasoning, but at least there aren't any big chunks of fat that, you know, just turn into gristle in your mouth or something that kind of detracts from the overall enjoyment of what you have here. Got this seasoned, maybe a little more along the edges, but now kind of the interesting part with this tenderloin is what I'm going to do is kind of get it prepped and ready to be folded and tied. Because what you end up doing with this meat is, in tying it, it kind of binds it together, and so you kind of get this tube of meat when you're all done that you slice into, and kind of gives you these little mini steaks that you cut off of the meat. But what I end up doing with it is just literally folding the thing in half. So what we are going to do with this tenderloin, before we put it in the oven, and I've got the stove preheating right now to 425, we're going to sear it to kind of lock in the exterior, if you will, so that the flavor stays inside while it's cooking. So I'll sear it here, but then once it gets put in, I'll actually monitor this until it gets to 125 degrees on the inside of the meat, and I'll put a little thermometer into it. This thing, again, I'm going to want it to show me about 125, and I don't want to stick it in between the fold. I want to get it into the good part of the meat, so I've got a good temperature for it. That way, by putting it this way, I can turn on the oven light and watch it. So at this point, while the meat is cooking in the oven, so what I've got here, I've got these little baby portobellos. I'm just going to slice them up, and part of my goal is to use the oil that I seared the meat in as a way to cook then the mushrooms, and also I can use a little bit of those leftovers then for a sauce. So I've got everything pulled together now. Chopped up shiitake, they came this way. I sliced up the portobello. So I'm going to start cooking these along with a little bit of minced garlic. So just kind of let it simmer down just a little bit. And you can see it, again, we're talking just a few minutes here. Nothing too major, but you do want to get them all cooked. You know, they obviously shrink some when you're cooking them down, so it may look like a lot at the beginning, but as it cooks down, it starts to get a little more compact. Meanwhile, obviously you can see now they're in great shape. They're all cooked in. Beautiful color to them. They look appetizing. And you know, I think for anybody that is like me, who's a big fan of eating. I love eating. I like going to restaurants. I'm blessed that I have a wife that knows how to cook exceptionally well. So you kind of learn what to look for and what it is that you're expecting the food to look like. And that's really it for my barometer. So I'm going to say that's good. Now the nice part is that you know, a few things, and I'm going to use this to make my sauce for the tenderloin. I got about half a carton of the heavy whipping cream here. My temperature's down pretty low, and I'm just pouring it in. Heavy whipping cream, pretty straightforward stuff to use. Just kind of make sure you don't burn it, but let it kind of mix in and get all over the mushrooms. And what I'm looking to do next is I've got some shredded cheese, smoked Gouda. It's got its own fun flavor, but I'm just taking that. And I'm not, you know, you see I used the same oil that I seared the tenderloin in. Then cooked the actual mushrooms in that oil. And then once the mushrooms were cooked, added some heavy whipping cream. Now I'm adding some cheese that just kind of gives it its own fun flavor, but adds a little kind of bulk to the actual sauce at this point. I'm going to add a little salt. I've got some more of that pink Himalayan salt You can use any salt you want. I just think this is a high-grade salt. You don't want to get too much, but just enough to kind of beef up some of the flavor. And then just because I had some left over that time, the onion powder and garlic powder, I'm going to just go ahead and add that in. It's the last little tidbit. So we're not talking, but maybe about another minute or so. And you can see the sauce is simmered. I'm going to call it there with the sauce. So while the meat is cooking, I'm going to start to prepare the asparagus. That's going to be my side. So we've got the sauce done. I want one side and then the meat. And the sauce is obviously going to end up on the meat. And if you want to put a little bit on the asparagus too, it's kind of personal preference at that point. Now the asparagus is kind of an interesting thing in that when you're prepping it, you break off the bottom part. Where you break it off is kind of a natural thing. I'm going to just simply bend it, and wherever it breaks naturally, we're going to say that's the part you don't want, this is the part you want to keep. And you're going to do that with each one. So meat, I just pulled it from the oven over here to be sliced into. So you're going to see right along with me what this looks like. I'm not presuming to know what to expect. All I know is that I made sure that the temperature got to at least 125 degrees. You can see the outside's got this lovely color to it. So I'm going to actually just cut it in half and then slice from there, so we can see exactly what the inside looks like of this thing. And look at that. Pretty. Still have the pink of the interior, so it's nice and tender still. Some good color around the edge, and then this outside helps to lock in flavor. I'm going to slice this up, put some on the plate, put the sauce that I created and the asparagus, and tell the family that they can come eat. Okay, so kind of moment of truth. I want to cut into the middle, get some of this tender meat, see if this is edible. I can give an honest opinion about how stuff tastes, even if from a prep standpoint I'm uncertain. Let's see. Very, very interesting. So the sauce has this kind of like almost smoky richness to it. I think that comes from the cheese, actually, the Gouda. But just balanced. There's nothing extreme about it. It's kind of like a warm, inviting flavor. And then the meat is just extremely tender. Extremely tender. Getting a little piece of the exterior there, that crisp part, great flavor, doesn't taste burnt or anything of the sort. And the asparagus, crisp, crunchy still, obviously cooked well. So, not hugely involved. I'm going to call Tamara in and my son, have them taste it, and I'll report back when we're doing our live stream about what their thoughts were.
Delicious.
Yeah.
Delicious. He did a great job. The meat was fantastic. The mushroom sauce was amazing. The smoked Gouda was a stroke of genius. And the asparagus, he nailed it. Nailed it. 4 minutes in, out, and it was perfect every time.
I guess from my standpoint, it was actually delicious. I would be critical. Kind of, our household's known for kind of abrupt honesty sometimes. So if it did not taste good, I'd tell you in 2 seconds. It was legitimately really tasty. And the nice part is, I think we ate off of it the next
weekend.
Yeah, 3-4 days.
Breakfast, lunch, sandwiches, dinner.
So for a convenience standpoint, it kind of paid dividends that I wasn't expecting. So it took a little time to prepare on the front end. But the ability to have multiple meals off of it, you could add some eggs with it in the morning, put it in a sandwich for lunch. So it was great. It was great. So it was worth it. The meat, tenderloin for someone who's a big meat eater, so phenomenally tender and delicious, and the way it retains its flavor. And it's kind of nice. Some meat, the longer it sits after you cook it, kind of dries out. Not so with the tenderloin. It actually maintained its body, if you will, and its flavor, even many days later. So I think it's worthwhile to experiment every now and again. Not some new normal that I want to try to have expectations built around.
When we were talking about show ideas, I'm like, what do you think about you cooking for a show idea? Well, yeah. I'm thinking, oh, yes.
Yes. So the things
and it only took 20 years.
The things we do for people's amusement, I guess.
So what's next? What are you going to cook next?
I don't know. The meat's always an easy go-to for me. I'm a big meat eater, enjoy it. But I don't know, it might be fun to get outside of like a comfort zone. Maybe look at a fish, a salmon.
Sure.
I'm big on the proteins. So, I would probably be thinking along those lines, maybe experiment with fish, grilling it, or I don't know, something. I'm just throwing out some ideas. If you have any ideas, obviously, feel free to give us a message on that. And I'm happy to experiment.
Send messages. Please send messages. Lots of them. We'll make him do every single one.
Yeah. My only quip, and this is pure vanity, something about how our camera videoed. Oh, I don't have a beer gut.
I don't know where that is.
But man, you look at that video.
Stand up. Throw your shoulders back, dude. Something's not coming off right.
I just look like some monster. It's like, yeah, you eat, buddy.
Speaking of which, I'm looking at the picture that's coming up next, and I want to fair warn, the picture that's coming up of me next was at like 3:30 in the morning.
Okay, so enough with the cooking. Guys, if you're not a big cooker, it's wholly doable. Not a huge challenge. Actually went easier than I'd expected. And I think by cooking something that already interests you and in essence doing a food that you like already, it kind of makes it easier because at least you know what to look for. You kind of have a sense, okay, this is, medium well. I like this. I know how crispy it's supposed to get. I can tell what burnt meat looks like. So even though I don't have a lot of background per se in cooking, being a big eater and cooking something that I enjoy made it easier because I had a sense of what I was going for. So doable, worthwhile, and our son enjoyed it.
Very much.
Tamara enjoyed it. I enjoyed it repeatedly, and one meal fed us for subsequent days, which is super convenient and helps take the edge off the fact that I had to stare at that for so long. But
very good.
Our next segment, again, we don't want to do a total overload on VMI, but there is a lot going on. And so this past weekend, the reason why we did not do our live stream last week is we had to get to Lexington again.
And this isn't necessarily just VMI centric. It happens to be where we were, but this is about tailgating. We had never tailgated before, either one of us, in
True.
college or since then or whatever. So it is apparently a very big deal.
Very popular.
At VMI, and buddy, they take it seriously.
Yeah.
And it was worth the effort. So,
Sure.
for instance, this is the first tailgating that they've had in over a year. There was no tailgating last year.
Yep.
This is also there was also a reunion this weekend. So in order to ensure
Two classes had their reunion last weekend.
In order to ensure a spot on the main field, and they park on their grass. They have this big grass field that they parade around in. And so in order to get one of the front row spots on the grass so that you're right there where the parade is, I lined up at 3:30 in the morning. Well, and I wasn't the first one in line.
The thing that's funny is that, there was a chat, like a Facebook chat, I think, that you got involved in, where people who had done this before, who had
started saying,
cadets,
get in line around 5:30, and maybe a little earlier this time because of whatever, and then it just kept getting earlier and earlier and earlier until finally those of us who were like, I am so into this, I am doing this, I don't care how stupid early I'm getting up. We were there at 3:30, and the person who was very first in line, get this, 1:30 in the morning.
Not for me. And even the 3:30, not for me. My son and I stayed in a hotel room. Tamara was eager beaver, wanted to go out and do this, have the experience. I like the experience of restful sleep.
I would do it again.
But we did get up in the morning, got her a latte, and walk. And Lexington's not very big, so we just walked from the hotel over to the campus in the morning. But needless to say, I was not doing the early start.
I would do it again in a heartbeat. And frankly, I probably would do the 1:30, because if you're going to get up and get parked, why not get there earlier? Because as soon as you're parked, you go to sleep. And then you have like a nice little block of sleep.
Yeah,
I think the 1:30 makes a whole lot more sense.
Well, one thing that is an incentive, though, also of getting started and being there early, is that you can line up along the edge of the parade grounds. So you can kind of have a front row seat. You're permitted to put up a tent. You can park. You can cook. You can, host, what have you.
All the rats come out and start feeding rats. Why don't you put some pictures
we'll get into it, and then we'll follow up with some additional observations. Because what I will say, and I'll just tease this, meeting people was actually very fun, because everybody's really excited to be there, and there was a lot of fun exchange. But this is Tamara's little adventure with going ahead and getting started first thing in the morning.
I didn't make a video out of this, so these are kind of still images and whatnot.
No, there's video.
Oh, there's
in
some
here.
of the videos? Well, they're not like the fancy videos. They're just here's my camera, and go.
If there's shrieking or hollering with excitement, I did my best to try to mitigate some of it, but there might be some commentary. This is a little more of what we'd call a rough cut.
Yeah.
So let's see what we got here.
It is 3:30 on the nose, and this is what Lexington looks like first thing in the morning. Adorable, quiet, and sleepy. I have a car packed with grills, food, flags, etc. And I'm on my way to get in line to tailgate. So, bye. So that's the road up to the field. And it's currently, I don't know what time it is. It's probably getting close to 4. There's all the cars. Okay, so that's me just walking and walking.
Good morning. Good morning, how are you?
Good, how are you all?
Bye.
These other folks are queued up, hanging out.
I got out and talked to a bunch of mothers. Had a great time. And fathers. Although honestly, there were more women in line than men.
Was it?
Yeah.
Just like this?
Yeah. Although person number 1 was a guy, was a father.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, this is just me walking back to my car. I was car 18 at 3:30 in the morning. By the time it finally, you're probably going to show some of the other ones where they start lining up in the second row too.
Yeah, I've never watched these videos.
Oh, okay.
So I kind of have them there for us to review, but
Yeah.
we're reliant on your recollection.
Yeah, so this is it. A lot of these people are already sleeping. They didn't come around to the car to start collecting the parking fee until I think about 6:30. And by that time, I think in one of these pictures you'll see, they actually brought cars up on into the second lane, the outgoing lane. They just went ahead and blocked it off because the cars had gotten all the way down and were headed towards the highway and couldn't block the highway. So where that happened, they then just moved the next rows up to the left-hand lane or the outgoing lane. And then, of course, when they let them in, they let our lane in first.
And just if you've never been to VMI, this wall here is a big retaining wall that allows them to put athletic fields up on a level area. So the rugby pitch is up there. And probably, I think what other sports are up there? Is the baseball up there?
I
Or
don't
no,
know.
baseball's down below.
It seems like, isn't that where they have all the
Or maybe a
climbing
practice
ropes and all
field. They
that
have,
stuff?
other kind of military orientated obstacle course equipment. So you have a broad range of things, but it's this big sheer wall so that they could create some level land. Because, Lexington's kind of a hilly community. But the next one here now, it would kind
There
of
we
go
go.
to sunlight. You can see that other cars have now started to line up beside Tamara here.
Yeah. So that's what it is. What it is. Let's see. Oh, there's not much to see. You can just go slide that one next.
No?
No.
Are you just videoing?
I think so. I mean, because usually when I take these clips, I'm going to make them into a segment. So I just take them for purposes of that. So
Here's the morning.
Yes.
Or actually, did that? No, I think. Let me see.
yeah, no, that's the morning.
No, but I think you actually start driving up in this video.
I'll do it.
Yeah, because I think that's part of what it is that you actually do head up,
Okay.
and you can kind of see the drive as everybody's trying to get up onto the field.
Mm-hmm.
So we can
Watch for a little.
watch it because it's interesting. It's a beautiful campus, and once everybody starts moving. So this is now moving up, and everybody's making their way onto the actual parade field first thing in the morning here. And how many people would you say end up kind of being there? 1,000 just for the tailgating?
I would think so because they were tailgating canopies and tents and all that set up on two sides, and then there were bleachers on the third side, and then the fourth
okay.
side are the barracks. So that's the four sides of it.
Because some
So-
people are spectators who want to see the parade, and we'll actually see some of the parade as the cadets come on. You have various classes coming on with all the rats in tow. So one of the features of all of this that's so interesting is, and I described this with our prior discussion on VMI. It's basically hazing that goes on for months, 7-8 months of these kids' career at VMI. So
Being broken down to be rebuilt into the form of
there's a method to it, but
Yeah.
it's definitely interesting and at all stages in their academic and kind of VMI experience. This is very much a defining period of time. So for us to be here, our daughter actually asked us. She was eager to have us
we
come.
weren't going to come to this first game. We were going to come to
Yeah.
Parents Weekend, which isn't for another little while.
But the notion that she could get a little reprieve and not be in the
somebody's shouting at you,
yeah.
somebody's yelling and
not
telling
be
you
in
what
the
you're not doing
environment
right.
that she'd been
and-
in, because they'd just gone through what they call Hell Week, where they're sleep deprived, they're chased around, yelled at, intentionally put in what they call stress positions.
Physically challenged.
Correct. They're running. They're going through obstacle courses. And that's the first 10 days to where they don't even know what time of day it is. They don't know what the day of the week is. and this is their first little glimmer that there is still civilization
and people who
and
love
normalcy
them.
and people who
And
love
people
them.
who will cook for them. That was something else. She was so happy to have homemade cooked food.
Yeah, there was one comment that I overheard where another kid was like, "Wow, your mom got a ton of food," and she's like, "Everything's over the top with her." It was just kind of like, you have no idea. It's not just going to be tailgating in the usual sense. It's going to be Tamranillo tailgating, where it's, lap of luxury. And kids may not eat as well at the tailgating as, or may not eat at home as well as they do at the tailgating. So just things that are just fun little anecdotes. But I went there with literally no idea what to expect. I'm not... somebody that historically has done tailgating. Kind of my circle and interests in life didn't center me around a lot of collegiate sports. So this was a new experience for me. I will legitimately say, had a blast.
Yeah,
it was totally fun, totally cool, and compared to what my first experience was of checking IO in, which was just brutish work, this was just cool, fun. You can hang out, talk with people, enjoy the experience.
She brings all of her roommates around and all of her company mates around, and that was the one thing I learned. I need more chairs. We had 5 or 6 chairs. I could have had twice that, and probably still had some of the cadets standing.
So this is once you actually get set up.
Yeah, so the grassy field is where the marching and the parading is going to be. So you literally are right there where they are. And all the lovely tents are
obviously
up.
Beautiful
and
campus.
And then that's the barracks that you're looking at, or one of the barracks.
Yeah, that's where the barracks are, where all the cadets at all stages of their matriculation there at VMI all reside together in the same building.
This is just the first thing in the morning when they're all setting up. Now, all of those tents were there before all of us. So those are big money donors because they got to be there before the 1:30 a.m. guy.
Yeah, they probably got to set up the day before.
So you donate $10,000, you get an early spot, and you don't have to wait in line for it.
Yeah, and I don't. Well, I'll mention it now, and it'll make more context. But because it was a weekend for the alums to come, I think it was the class of 1970 and the class of 1975. I think it was the class of 1970 made a $13 million donation
can you imagine?
to the school as a sign of their appreciation and their success, in essence, that they're like, yeah, here's what the class of 1970 did. Boom, spike the ball. 13 million, yeah, good luck.
And then it was like 13 million. $70,770.70 or something like that. 70 is all the way down.
Yeah, but
just in case you weren't sure.
It was just kind of, I don't know, funny, and I don't know what the depth of that tradition is if every class is trying to outdo the other, but I know I'm not writing any big checks to University of Colorado, so I guess there's a lot of pride that goes into this.
Really.
We talked about that folks' commitment. Here's a kind of a picture when we're first, able to hang out with Ido and meet some of the other kids. Tamra, as a part of her whole Facebook group thing, learned all these tricks of the trade.
Oh yeah, they said bring a clothesline cord, and they said bring clips so that the kids can all take their hats off and hang them without having to worry about them touching the ground, getting dirty, etc. I took it one step better. I'm like, it'll come off that clip, and I got those lingerie bags, and they were perfect because apparently they have to keep stuff in that hat. Yeah. They have their rap books, they have pens or pencils, they had like all sorts of stuff.
It's like a mobile backpack.
So now that little bag held everything. So I think I may have like sparked a new tradition with that little thing.
So we did a little clothesline, and you could also see the flags there.
Yeah. Each company has its own color, and where that becomes so relevant is they're posting pictures on Flickr and Instagram and all of that of all the companies, and there's 500 kids there. So, and all the guys got their heads shaved. So it's hard to pick your kid out.
Nothing wrong with a shaved head.
It's this weird Where's Waldo game. Every time there's another photo drop, what they did is they at least color coded the companies. So if you look on the backpacks or you look on the little, tags or whatever the kids have got on their body, there's a little color. So you can at least say, oh, that's black. That's such and such company. My kid's company is this teal blue.
Yep.
So it made it really easy to immediately know, okay, my child might be in this group of people.
Well, and there's also an incentive for the various rats. They want to know, hey, where can I go to maybe get a free meal here? Because, not every parent's able to
although
come.
any kid could have come by. I had
Sure,
kids from all
any
of
kid,
them.
but,
But that,
clearly...
that bonding together thing, that was what I think.
So for those kids that didn't have parents, you're inviting them over and wanting to feed them. Here, Tamara did breakfast burritos to get us started in the day. By the time we were in the swing of things here, kind of word had gotten out, and then the other parents started showing up.
Yeah.
So we were there.
If you've got
set
the kids
up.
there, the parents come also.
Correct. So, but also some of the parents didn't go to the lengths that we did as far as trying to set everything up.
Yeah, no, that was the idea, is that they
So-
would also bring additional foods as the day
Correct.
went on. So it
And
worked
then
out really well.
It kind of got borderline obscene, the amount of food we were dealing
But
with.
most of it was eaten.
Most of it was.
Anything
Most of
that
it
was
was.
handmade, homemade, or
Was
fresh
gone.
made was gone.
Yeah, some of the prepackaged stuff, like anything, it doesn't have quite the appeal. But when somebody makes some homemade muffins, when somebody's making some homemade cookies, the breakfast burritos, the burgers Tamara was making,
And then at
that
lunch we
stuff
did
was
burgers.
gone.
Yeah, so
Bacon.
we did a breakfast.
Bacon was highly sought after.
Yeah. So we did the breakfast, and then they had to go, and then they came out and they marched, and
Well,
then they were able to
we'll-
come back. Okay, go
Yeah,
ahead.
we'll actually show what they do. So here we're kind of getting the kids comfortable, orientated, and then they had to all skedaddle so that they could participate in the big march here.
We may get me a grill too, though.
Too many of those videos.
So is
Some
this
of
a
those
senior
videos are like
class?
20, 30-minute videos.
Oh, well, at least we'll get a sense.
Yeah, get a sense. So they march by companies.
I know the rats are last. She said that.
So each group is a company, except for maybe this first entries. When you see a big block, that's a company, and
This is
students in
band
the
company,
back.
actually. No, actually, those are probably some of the first years. Yeah, see how they're marching in step. You could tell when the
Nope, now we're out. Oh,
the-
look at that! Oh, it's so funny. You don't catch it when they're there.
when the rats were going, it
Yeah,
got a
the
little
rats
dodgy.
were a little rough. I expect they'll get better every practice. They had another parade either last night
Did they?
or
Yeah.
today. There's another one coming up. And then I think there's another one next week. So they practice this on weekends. This is what they do for the weekends. Study, they do all the working out, etc. And then on the weekends they march in a parade.
Oh yeah, there's a bunch of rats there. If you could see those that are just in the all white, and the ones that are in the gray, that's what they
Yes.
call cadre. Those are
Okay,
their
so that's
leaders who are
alpha.
guiding them and shaping them through this experience.
Sorry, guys, we'll be at the
But
front.
I'll jump forward here, but it kind of gives you a sense. So part of the reason to get there early is that you basically have front row seats on
Yeah.
this, which is I thought very cool.
It was very cool.
This is just on some close-ups here of the bagpipe. I guess they're a part of the band company.
They are.
Very cool, very traditional,
Yeah.
very fun.
Boy, the amount of clothing they had on though. I just
Oh.
thinking they gotta be dying.
Yeah,
They
it
gotta
was-
be
it
dying.
was
They
a
had like
toasty
fur
day.
on top of everything.
Yeah, it was a toasty day, and one of the traditions is that they wear nothing under the kilts, like legit, birthday suit under the kilt.
I don't know if that's true. You
Yeah,
think that's
that's
true?
the tradition.
Oh my gosh, is that tradition here at VMI or just
Uh-huh.
generally?
Yeah,
Whoa, did not know that.
yeah. No, they're legit about it. It's kind of like wearing a bow tie. You want to make sure it's like legit. You tied it.
Yeah.
It's a legit thing. If you're gonna wear a kilt, you're out there with it. You're out there with it. But still cool. Now, this is one of the things, and I talked about this a little bit earlier, that I, really, really enjoyed about this was just talking to people. The one gentleman who has the cap there and the hat with the big M on it, is actually what Io's former English
Yes,
teacher.
he
when
taught her
she
at
went
the-
to Massanutten.
And he's a VMI grad.
He's a VMI
and
grad.
he did a great job promoting the school, and so the
Indoctrinating our child such that VMI was the only school she was going to be going to.
and there were probably 6 or 7 students in her graduating class that did the same. Now they're not all there now.
Yeah, okay. 6, that many.
Yeah,
I
there
think it
was
was
a bunch.
a little less, but regardless. Yeah, so it was fun because, you're meeting families. A lot of them are Virginians, not all of them. There are people from literally outside
All
the United
over.
States who are coming in to go to VMI. Kids from all over the country, kids, California, Hawaii, like literally the other side of the country who hear about VMI, hear about the tradition associated with it, and just want to be a part of the experience. And it's things like this that I think kind of galvanize people and make them feel that they're a part of a unique group of people who look out for each other, take care of each other, who want to really see one another excel. That was the one thing that was kind of interesting. You didn't get kind of a vibe of pettiness.
No.
Everybody was very much, hey, we're doing this, we're making it, let's keep going.
Yeah.
Very appreciative, very respectful. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Good kids. It was interesting. Good kids, good families. I never got kind of the kind of vibe where you're just like,
Was that a go?
yeah, where you're just like, I don't know, not my kind of energy, if you will.
No, they're all
Everybody was fine.
They're brother rats.
Well, but even their parents. So I think the parents that are sending
They're
their
brothers.
kids.
We're aunts and uncles and cousins
Whatever.
and everything else.
But
it's
the
a VMI
whole
family.
vibe there was very fun.
Yeah.
Our daughter, she was having a good time with it. She was very happy we were there. This is now what we were there for. We were doing the tailgating.
Yeah.
But we were doing the tailgating in anticipation of the football game. And they
Football!
played, I think, what was it, Davidson
Yeah.
out of Charlotte.
Okay. I don't know where they're from.
Yeah, I
but
think they're out of Charlotte, North Carolina. I think, what's their conference again? Is it
Southern Conference.
Southern
Yeah.
Conference.
And they were the Southern Conference champs last year.
Yeah, they were
First time in a
2020.
long time. They
Yeah.
had an excellent year last year.
I will say, and I'll actually hold my comment, but there's some fun anecdotes about VMI and the fact that last year was such a big year for them. But here is when we're first walking to the stadium. This is a fun tradition.
Beginning of every game.
And every touchdown when they go to do a kickoff. These kids are like
Any opportunity
lighting.
to fire that cannon.
Yeah,
Woo!
they're all over it. So they're digging their cannon. This is just kind of a bird's eye view from.
Okay, so from the seats. Now we sat right above the rats. The rats have to stand for the whole game unless there's an injury or something like that.
Yeah.
Then they can sit down temporarily. So they're standing out in the heat, and it was wicked hot.
It was a hot day.
And did I take one of the videos where
Oh
I
yeah,
touched-
yeah.
Okay, we'll
yeah,
get
I
to
think
it.
I muted it because of the hooping and screaming and yelling. I was like, I don't think our folks are going to enjoy that.
I love football. I
But-
used to love watching it. Haven't watched it in a long time, and this is a fun opportunity to watch it again.
So this
Cheer
is
for
the
some kids.
home side. Across the ways the more to by the end you're watching the head bob.
Bumping out 45
but,
push-ups
yeah.
after sitting in the sun for
no
2.5,
elbows were
3
bending
hours.
anymore. But very fun, very cool.
And then again, there's the Where's Waldo, finding our little rat among all those heads. It's
Yeah.
a little easier with the hair, but not by much.
yeah. So if you were trying to find one of the guys in that crowd, forget it, because everybody's got the same bald head look. So either way, but very fun. I'm a hop forward here. Kind of gives you a sense. This poor guy who is the mascot ruthless, because he's such a trooper. Literally, it is cooking. He's in this mascot suit, and I was worried he'd have heat stroke.
Yeah,
honestly.
and being joyful with
He's
the crowd.
dancing,
and,
doing his moves, and then he'd disappear again.
Yeah.
I think they were basically like, hydrate him, cool him off, get the hat off, and then they'd run him back out. But the guy, I don't think he passed out or died at any point. He made it through the game, but man, brutal. So it was fun though, very fun, great game. VMI just destroyed Davidson. Great, they had a great running game. Great passing.
Oh, yeah.
They were solid. Defense was consistent, picking off balls.
Worth watching this season.
Yeah.
Really, really worth it.
Yeah. So, and it's interesting. This season, Virginia in general should have some competitive teams, whether it's, VCU and one basketball or something like that. UVA's doing well. But regardless, there should be some important and fun athletics. But needless to say, it definitely ended up being a hoot all around. Now, after we finished the game, one of the things that we weren't expecting but were permitted to do was let the kids, our cadets or rats, go off campus so that they could go to dinner. And so it was very fun. We literally just piled a bunch of kids into the back of the truck. And anyone who wanted to ride, we went to a fun little Thai restaurant.
We did. We
were able to hang out.
all
Parents
sorts of rats
met us
with
there.
us that didn't have parents with them that weekend. And
Yeah, very fun.
Very cool.
Very fun. So ended up being kind of a surprise as far as I'm concerned, as far as the scope of the experience as a whole, everything that we were able to kind of do together, all of it, in my view, made tailgating kind of a new discovery of fun, an experience that, if you're not somebody who's, huge on sports and you maybe think everybody that's there is kind of just some big oaf who, isn't thinking freely or interestingly, not the case at all. I'm not saying there aren't maybe communities of people where their emphasis on athletics is to the detriment of other things. But what I found is that at least the folks that were there, a lot of the parents are competent professionals in their own right. The kids wanting to go to the school there have their own kind of focus and dedication, and so academics are front and center. And we are committed to our bodies and our minds, such that the athletics become really kind of a way to augment all the other great work that they're doing, to really bring all of themselves into the forefront, to where they're well-rounded kids is, I guess, the best way of putting it. So very cool, very fun, new experience. But if you've not tailgated and you've got a school around you, go try it, because it definitely is one of those things. It's a fun way to meet people, and because there's a game associated with it, everybody's really excited, and that energy doesn't let up. And I guess the only thing that might be a little difficult is if you go and tailgate and then your team gets destroyed. That's kind of bittersweet at that point. But definitely for us, that day was just highlight to highlight to highlight. So it was a lot of fun.
So if you're watching this on YouTube still, I think you are the only live stream, because I think Facebook live stream went down. So if that did occur, you can catch us on YouTube. I'll make sure it's there, and we'll just keep rolling. We'll cut this up into segments so you can catch it during the week.
Yeah, but either way, for anybody who's watching, subscribe.
Yes,
tell
please
other
subscribe.
People about what we're doing here. Definitely on Facebook. You can like what we're doing, send messages, you can share it. We're early in this process, so we're still growing, and for me it's exciting. It's interesting. It's fun to kind of put energy into figuring out fun ways to make this
to get
dynamic
around the
and
cat
fun.
and all that it unplugged.
Oh, yeah. But if there are things, as I've said before, that you want us to talk about, things that you're interested in, things that you maybe are wanting to explore, but maybe haven't made the leap into, let us know. We'll happily dive in and offer whatever commentary and honest assessment of the situation we have. But I think for this evening,
Ta-da!
ta-da!
Show 7.
But we'll be back next week. I
Yep.
don't think there's anything taking us out of town next week.
Nope.
So yeah, we look forward to seeing everybody again and appreciate you spending your time with us.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Good night.